Okay. Hello, everybody. Facebook is saying that I'm live, so I'm going to go with that. So, first off, I want to introduce myself. I am Hayden Murphy, and I am the new senior librarian head of reference, local and family history, and adult programming. So, um, that is why I am actually doing tonight's program. So, I entitled this Keeping New Year's Resolutions Throughout the Year. So, a little bit more about myself. I think I've been here a month and a half now. So, started very late in November. So, almost 2 months, longer than a month and a half. Anyway, and still getting settled in, and that's kind of how I ended up doing tonight's program. So, wanted to get things going, so I basically decided, hey, I will do the adult program this month. So, I do have some teaching experience at the undergraduate level, so I figured, hey, put that experience to some use. And voila, here I am. Anyway, so like I said, tonight's program, keeping New Year's resolutions throughout the year. So I'm still getting used to this cool tool that we have for Facebook, which is a Facebook portal. So I'll try not to move in this direction too much, but I will be moving in this way somewhat, because I'm going to be using this back here behind me, the dry erase board. That's what I preferred to use when I was teaching. So don't reinvent the wheel. Anyway, so welcome to tonight's program. So, it's January. I figured the new year, resolutions. So I'm sure those of you watching made some resolutions. They might have been about money. They might have been about health. Those are the two main groups that popped into my head concerning resolutions. So you made them, and resolutions, seems like they get broken more than actually getting kept. And so I figured, hey, let's try and break that cycle, and let's try and keep them, and actually not have the notorious trend of, they last a couple of months. So, gyms, they tend to see a lot of people in January. People make great resolutions and then they don't keep them. So, anyway, we're going to focus on keeping them. Okay, so I talked about, two main groups of resolutions: money, health, and it's entirely possible that you have a resolution that's more focused on you, more personalized to you. So for me, an unusual resolution that not a lot of other people might have would be pertaining to music, and I'll be talking about that later. So, but I came up with another example for me, and actually falls in with the money category. So you have more than likely this idea of I'm gonna, get myself into better financial shape. Well, that sounds great, but how are you gonna do that? So, um, there is one method that I think some of you probably actually heard of. This method that I found has been around for a while, but nobody seems to know who developed it, when it happened, but a lot of people seem to have latched onto this method and helped spread it around, because I've found quite a few resources online pertaining to this method that I'm going to be talking about. So if you want to go explore on your own, you will have no trouble finding what I'm going to be talking about. Excuse me. Okay, so this method, so gotta use the dry erase board. So it's in all capital letters. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see that S M A R T. So going from top to the bottom, that spells smart. So some of you by now may realize that the methodology of achieving these goals that we're going to be talking about is SMART goals. So that's the easy way to remember it. So there are actually words that go along with each of these 5 letters. So if you guys were in the room with me, we would be much more interactive, but you're not, so it's going to be a lot of me, unfortunately, talking at you. Just the nature of how this is. Okay, so if you guys were here, I would actually be asking you, what do you guys think that the S stands for? Well, if you know about SMART goals, you could cheat and say that it is, have my own cheat sheet. Actually, not cheat sheet, notes for lecture. So, first word, specific. So, I'm not sure you guys would have guessed that the M stands for measurable. I'm not sure you guys would guess this, what the A stands for, but you might guess correctly. So the A is actually achievable. R is for relevant. And the shortest word out of all of these, you guys might be able to actually guess what the T stands for. It's only 4 letters. And I know the Wordle craze is going on Facebook. I have not had a chance to participate. So some of you may have actually guessed time. So we are talking about trying to achieve the goals of our resolutions. Okay, so these are the components of this method in one word, the 5 different parts of it. So I am smarter than the dry erase marker. Okay, so specific encapsulates the S in SMART. So more specifically, a couple of questions that you can ask yourself regarding specific in regards to the SMART goals. So you can ask yourself, what will you accomplish with your goal, with your resolution? So I know we're talking about SMART goals, and we're also talking about resolutions in terms of goals. Because that's really what, if you're really going to stick to a resolution, it's a goal. That's what it is. So specific, what are you going to accomplish with your resolution over the year? So, with money, you might have this idea of, I'm going to get myself into better financial shape. Well, that's kind of vague. And in fact, with using the SMART goals, you're going to more than likely find yourself refining your goal. More than likely. So what will you accomplish? And what actions will you take to achieve the goal? And I forgot to point out, so, did introduction. I'm a little rusty with this whole, lecture thing. Although I'm trying not to be too lectury, but, I'm here, you guys are there. We can't talk to each other. Anyway, so wanted to, introduce myself and then, focus on the fact that, you probably made resolutions or you wouldn't be watching this. And then I wanted to explain the SMART goals and then, use some specific examples with the SMART goals. Anyway, so we covered S, specific, those questions, what will you accomplish, and what actions will you take to achieve that goal. So, more than likely, you're taking a resolution and narrowing it down if you're using the SMART goals, and specific is where more than likely you're going to get some refinement. So M, measurable. So what data, don't get scared, what data will you use to measure the goal? So having been in graduate school, and having taken research courses in graduate school, I know that the two main types of data that you can acquire to ascertain whether you've achieved a goal or not, how much, so that's quantitative, dealing with numbers, or how well, and that's qualitative. So, basically, qualitative is going to basically focus more on like perhaps how you feel, that kind of thing. But you can't assign a number to it. You could, say, oh, I feel better about this or I feel worse about this. But you can't say, I feel 1 about this or I feel 2 about this. So that's qualitative. Quantitative, this is higher, this is lower. And actually I could take a ruler and measure how high my hand is off the floor compared to how high my hand is off the floor here. But I don't have a measuring stick with me. Anyway, and I'm going to talk about this with one of my examples, there's also the possibility that you have both. So you might actually be able to assign a number to something, and then, you could have also a qualitative aspect about it. Okay, achievable. You guys might guess where achievable comes in. Can you actually pull the goal off? Is it doable for you? Do you have the necessary skills and resources? So you may know how to do something, but you may not have the tools to actually pull it off. So relevant is the R. So how does the goal align with your broader goals? So, focusing on budget, narrowing it down, or I should say money, finances, you may refine that goal down. Well, then it still fits within that broader goal of, perhaps getting yourself in better financial situation. So first question with relevant, how does the goal align with your broader goals? And why, and this may be perhaps, I would argue, the most important question out of all of these, why is the result important to you? Why are you putting all this time and effort into this resolution? If you can't answer that, perhaps you need to seriously think about another goal and using this framework with it. Something to think about. And then last but not least, time. So what is the time frame for accomplishing the goal? So definitely I suggest using a planner, and I'm going to achieve this part of the goal over this time period. So unfortunately I ran out the door without my planner, so calendar's not quite the same, but you could use a calendar. You could print out a calendar and do it that way if you don't want to do a planner. There's all kinds of websites online where you can print calendars off. You don't have to buy a planner. It's just seems rather convenient, and planners can get pretty expensive. So, but like I said, you can print calendars off. You can make your own planner. that can be fun. There are websites online also as well, not just calendar websites, but planner websites that give you ideas and for actually making your own planner. So there's an idea, make your own planner. It's part of keeping these resolutions. So something I don't want to forget to point out is that I'm here in a library, and libraries are full of resources available to you for free. So not that long ago, I stuck in personal finances into our catalog, and you would not believe how many different books we have on this. And we have, and I stuck budget in the other day. We have books on budget weddings, all kinds of budget stuff. But if you want to focus on achieving money goals, I would recommend not focusing on budget, but actually being a little bit broader and personal finance. Okay. Any of my students could tell you that I could rarely get through a lecture without that. Anyway, so if you are watching this and want to come in, I should also point out that I'm here at the Bartlesville Public Library. So the camera's not tracking over there right now at the moment, but I'm sure that was visible a little while ago. So I'm here in one of the meeting rooms of the Bartlesville Public Library. Don't want to forget to point that out. So we can help you find resources towards keeping your resolutions. Okay, so I was going to talk about some examples that I came up with where you can incorporate this method in trying to achieve them. So, and I don't think it would be terribly surprising for anybody, but one of my examples that I came up with actually pertains to money, to finances. So a couple of years ago, I had the goal of getting myself into better financial shape. Well, it dawned on me that one way to do that is to get rid of the student loan debt. So I did actually come up with that goal. So if I hadn't narrowed it down myself, I would have definitely wanted to incorporate this. But even though I did come up with that goal of, getting rid of my student loan debt, using this would have helped me to achieve it even faster. So, using SMART with getting out of student loan debt, so focusing on S, specific, what will you accomplish? Well, I was going to accomplish paying off my loans. So, what actions was I going to take to achieve the goal? If I'd used this, I would have made the answer to that question, I write a check every month of a certain amount. I didn't do that. There were months where I just wrote the minimum. So that would have definitely sped up me paying off the loans if I had had that question in the mix with my method of achieving that goal. So M, measurable, that second letter up there. What data will you use to measure the goal? Well, definitely quantitative. So how much am I chopping off that total every month? So definitely measuring quantitatively, but this is definitely a case of both. So qualitative, how was I feeling doing that process of paying off my student loan? Well, I can tell you I was feeling better every time I was chopping off that grand total. So quant, the money, and then qualitative, how I felt. So A, is the goal doable? Well, I knew it was doable. But, you know, like I said, using this process would have helped me to see that faster, I think. Did I have the necessary skills and resources? Luckily, yes. So did the math, figured out how much I needed to pay off every month. So R, I keep moving in front of the board. So R, relevant. How does the goal align with your broader goals? Well, paying off my student loans was going to help me with that broader goal of getting into better financial shape. So paying off the student loans, I did achieve that goal. I was very fortunate. I managed to pull it off. I think I forgot to mention that. And then because I paid off my student loans, it helped me get into better financial shape. And why is the result important to you? It helped me feel better, and I was sick and tired of dealing with my student loans. So I was in a fortunate situation, and I was able to get them paid off. So time, this is what, for me, would have definitely been the biggest thing for me with this method, is the time. So, like I said, there were months where those checks weren't as big as they should have been. So, this would have helped keep me in line with what I was trying to do. Okay, so, and like I said, you know, I have to admit I didn't at the time, but also probably getting a book from the library would have probably, pertaining to finances, probably would have helped me actually do it even faster. So, like I said, I was very fortunate, and I actually managed to get out of student loan debt. And man alive, I was so happy when I wrote that last check. Woo! Yeah. So I probably focused more on the qualitative aspect of that measure than the financial. So it was good to see at 0.00 when I logged in to make sure that my student loan servicer got that last check. Woo! So I'm not gonna lie, there were some bumps in the road, and I think there would have been less bumps if I had actually followed that. Okay, so I have another example. So I talked about, I think probably the biggest two categories, and I couldn't think of a third category, but to me, money, just talked about a money example, health, um, always in the back of the mind, but um, I was thinking of an example more personalized to me. So it's a little bit hard to tell, but my pendant is actually of a violin because I'm a violinist. I've been very fortunate to do music since I was about 6 years old. Um, and I'm actually fortunate now. Um, actually, I treated myself a little bit once the student loans got paid off because I got myself in better financial shape. And I have a violin, I have a viola, and I have a mandolin. But I actually went and swapped out my viola for a slightly better instrument, and it's actually a better setup for me. And so I'm playing it way more than the previous viola. So I didn't realize this, but I was actually playing the wrong size viola. So violas range in size from 15 inches to 17 inches, and I was playing an instrument that was um, too long for me. So it's actually intended for a person who's taller than me. And so I actually got a smaller instrument, and it works much better. And I'm playing my viola way more than I did the previous one. So I wished I could have replaced it sooner, but I wasn't in the financial shape to do it. So that was the little splurge. Went, swapped out the instrument, got a better instrument. And the result is I'm playing it a lot more. So anyway, so an example I was thinking of pertains to playing music. So this is pure fun, really, but I could have made it a resolution of, you know what, there's a piece, and if there's any Suzuki kids out there, you know what I'm talking about. If you got to, oh, I can't remember, is it the book at the end of book 5, I think, the Bach double violin concerto. So double meaning 2 violins. So there's two solo violin parts. And so the first violin part and the second violin part. Well, the second part's at the end of I think volume 5. It's been a little while. And then the first violin part's at the end of volume 6, I think. Well, I'm very, well, it's been a while since I've practiced it, but hopefully I would remember the second violin part well enough since I played it quite a bit when I was younger, but I haven't played it in a while. But I was thinking maybe it's time that I should learn the first violin part. It's not that much harder, it's higher, but you know, maybe I should actually put in the time to actually do it. So if I were wanting to do that and use this, I think it would actually be applicable and work. So using specific. So what will you accomplish? Well, I will learn the first violin part of the Bach double violin concerto. So, sorry, Bach is the composer. Johann Sebastian Bach. He wrote the piece in the 1700s, I assume. I don't remember when he wrote it. So if you ever get a chance to hear it, it's a pretty cool piece. So, what actions will you take to achieve the goal? Well, I would need to practice. So that's one thing I would definitely need to do to try and achieve this goal. So practice. I don't want to jump ahead to down here about the timeline. Um, that would be well, I'm jumping ahead. I'm trying to jump ahead. Anyway, so measurable. What data will you use to measure the goal? So another case of both, really, both. So what types of data, I should say. What data will you use to measure the goal? Well, if I'm pulling it off, then I've okay. Apparently, it's getting late in the day, and the brain is not doing this mouth connection as well as it was earlier in the day. Anyway, so what data will you use to measure the goal? Well, quantitative wise, that would be, am I getting all the notes? So there's the technical side of it, which would be, um, you know, the quantitative. Am I getting all the notes? Well, the qualitative side of that, I might get all the notes, but if I don't sound good, why would you listen to me? So the technical side, yeah, I'm playing it, but if I sound like a robot, so the qualitative would be the musical side. Well, um, I sound pretty, for lack of a better word. I sound good, so it's qualitative. You can't measure it with numbers. So, anyway, achievable. Is a goal doable? I think so. I've learned the second violin part. The first violin part is not so radically different than the second violin part that I think it's totally doable for me to learn the first violin part of the Bach double. Do I have the necessary skills and resources? I would say I have the necessary skills to do it because, like I said, I've learned the second violin part. And do I have resources? Fortunately, yes, I do. Um, I have a good instrument. So, um, sorry, just that's bringing back memories because my instrument was my graduation present from my grandparents. So I paid for part of it, and then they forgave the rest when I graduated from college. So good memories, but I wish they were still here. Anyway, okay, totally getting off on crazy tangent. Anyway, relevant. How does the goal align with your broader goals? Well, I should be actually practicing the instruments that I have more. So that's a broader goal, is just to be playing more and practicing more. So why is the result? Why is the result important to you? Well, if I stop playing music, something's really, really, really wrong. So do I play enough? No. So hopefully, as I get into this job more, I will have more opportunity to go home and play more. So, anyway, okay. So time. What is the time frame for accomplishing the goal? So, arguably, I should be practicing every day. Well, what's more likely to happen is that I actually practice maybe once or twice, probably, um, during the weekends. So I could come up with a planner, and I need to have this many lines learned of the piece this week. So that's how I could use a planner for this. Okay, so I'm sure we have resources here pertaining to music, and it just occurred to me that I should actually look into that. I'm not sure if we have sheet music. and if we do, what we have. So, something I should look into. Okay, so, like I said, this would have been more interactive if we were in person, but we're not, using the portal, which is pretty cool, and getting more familiar with this and the fact that it is so cool. So anyway, so I almost forgot about this, and this is not part of the SMART goals. Sorry. Not a practice for talking this long at one time. So I think that you should reward yourself. So if you accomplish your goal, so that's up to you how you do that. Basically, I would argue, this idea recently of self-care. So, if I'm trying to think of, excuse me, I ate dinner before this. Sorry. However you want to do that, is it maybe a special drink? I like chai, so I try and get those when I can. Actually, that would be a good example because I try to get one once a week. I don't know, for a special meal. Maybe there's a particular hand lotion that you like that's expensive that you don't splurge on a lot, or whatever. So anyway, so I think, do a reward. If you're after health, which, I talked about as a potential category, definitely, I would argue want to try and do a treat in as healthy a manner as possible, but I think it doesn't hurt every once in a while to, have a naughty treat. So, but it's up to you. Anyway, so, if you were here, I would now be asking if you had any questions. So I've actually, gone for 45 minutes. Oh, I forget, I have a timer on here as well. So anyway, so, trying to see if there's anything else in my notes that I'm forgetting about. So with the resources, I kind of focus on the fact, and I grew up in libraries, so kind of focused on the fact that we have books, but and actually pertaining to health, I know we have tons of cookbooks, but I don't want to forget to point out that we do have audiovisual, we have movies. Yes, I'm looking out at the DVDs that we have over here. So we have movies, and then some of them are in binge boxes. So there's 4 of those in one of those art bin boxes. And then we also have audiobooks. We have playaways. Oh, this is why I look at my notes. So we have, so we have things that you can check out. Like I said, books, DVDs, playaways, audiobooks that are not playaways. But we also have the reference collection that's out here. Reference Can't Leave. We also have local and family history. Those resources can't even leave the room. But if you're, off the top of my head, one of your resolutions is to become more acquainted with your genealogy, that would be very helpful. Local and family history. Lots of genealogy resources in there. And staff to help. They won't do all of your work, but they can be consulted for helping you to find resources that can help you with your genealogy. Also, don't want to forget that we have computers out here that people can come in and use an hour at a time. So that might be helpful in a resolution that you're using this with. But we also have classes. And so we have quite a few classes pertaining to health. Tomorrow we have Tai Chi at 1 p.m., Dance and Define at 6, and those are up in meeting room A. So that can help you if you have a resolution pertaining to health. So, and then also we have literacy classes. So that may be a goal for you as well. So would be perhaps to increase your literacy level. We have the Literacy Center. They can help you with that as well. Anyway, so, and so this is actually our newsletter and our calendars in there. So, unfortunately, I didn't get this class on the calendar in time. So, anyway, okay. So, hopefully, using the SMART method will help you achieve your goals. So, just want to re-emphasize specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time. Those are the 5 components of the SMART goals that you can use to help achieve your New Year's resolution. So I'm gonna wrap up and hope to see you guys later. Thanks.